Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's going to be a feeding update, and I know it's been a while, but we didn't have any appointments towards the end of December, and then our first appointment in January was canceled. So this is long overdue. We went almost a month, I think, without any occupational therapy, and it showed, unfortunately. So basically, we're doing the same kind of exercises and things like that we have been doing for the past few months. The one thing that did change was that Kaidynce started to really choke on water, and it was like really noticeable when basically she was aspirating on the water. And so what happens is like she has like a really big coughing fit, and then her eyes get like really watery, and you can tell like it went down the wrong way. And that hasn't happened in a really long time. So I had to tell the occupational therapist because it was happening like every day. And it wasn't her normal like choking on the water or whatever she's eating and then she clears it up and she's fine. They were like coughing fits. Like you can tell like it was kind of scary. So I had to tell the occupational therapist, and she actually did it in front of her when we were there at our last session. So it worried her too, and she told me like she is aspirating. And so she decided that we needed to meet with the speech therapist, and so she put in a request for that. And so today we had occupational therapy again. This was our second visit since the beginning of the year. And Kaidynce is doing a lot better. She had told me after the aspiration incident to up the stimulation that we do for her. So we had to start doing it 3 times a day. And I'll insert a clip so that you guys know what I'm talking about. These are like mouth exercises that we were doing 1 to 2 times a day, and it helps stimulate her tongue movement, her gag reflex, her chewing skills, all of that stuff that we need in order to swallow.
Other side. Don't bite me. Don't bite. Other side.
And so this one, you're just rubbing the top.
Rubbing.
Okay.
Yes. And then here, rub. And just the sides. Yeah.
Okay.
And then he. Oh, she bite me there. Here, I want you to pull the cheek so she will feel that one.
Okay.
And then the other side. I have to use my other.
What the occupational therapist thinks is that Kaidynce is hyposensitive, which means there's like a dullness to her when she's intaking any kind of like food or liquid. And liquid is a lot faster to go down than the food because we have to chew it, we have to break it up. Our saliva is what kind of like breaks it up and makes it easier for us to swallow, whereas the water is already liquid, so it goes down a lot faster. And so if she doesn't have the sensitivity that a typical child or a typical human being would have, she's not going to realize when it's going down, and she's going to choke, and she could aspirate, which is what has been happening. She doesn't choke on food or anything. It's mainly just the water or like the juices, whatever she's like drinking. And so with the hyposensitivity, we have to stimulate her senses. So one of the things why she said that she thinks that she has like a hyposensitivity is because she doesn't have a very strong gag reflex. When we do the mouth exercises, we have to stick our finger all the way to the back of her gum line. And then if you go a little bit inside of the mouth where like the tongue begins, typically would gag at that point, and Kaidynce doesn't. So she's not really feeling what she should be feeling. Her mouth needs to be stimulated a lot more in order for her to catch the food that is going down. So the mouth exercises are supposed to help with that, and we've been doing them like she asked us 3 times a day, and I've actually already noticed a difference. It's only been 2 weeks, and I've noticed on her right side her gag reflex is a lot quicker than on her left side. Like it's starting to almost develop, I feel like, a little bit stronger than her left side is. So I think maybe we'll have to do a little bit more on her left side or something. It's just that it's hard because there's days where she'll let us do it, and then there's days where she doesn't want anything coming in contact with her mouth. Like it's just like eating. Some days she'll eat really good, and then other days she'll just like taste something and just not be interested. And so at that point you can't force her, because the more you force her, the more traumatic and stressful the mealtime or the exercises are, and the more that she'll shut down. Finding a balance and finding like the boundaries of, you know, the boundaries that she sets for us. So that's why this feeding therapy and stuff, getting her off the gtube takes so long, because we have to be very patient. So that was what we've been doing since that first appointment in January. Like I said, today we had another appointment, because we have our appointments every other week. And so we had our appointment with our occupational therapist. Everything went good. She was eating ice chips, and she was able to control the swallow that she had. She didn't aspirate today. Nothing was really alarming, but her appointment was at 9 o'clock in the morning, and she's not a morning person. Like, she doesn't eat in the morning. So we didn't really get much done as far as like feeding therapy, but she did like eat a lot of ice chips. And so the occupational therapist was like, okay, she's not aspirating, she's doing good, you know. And so we have like our own little instructions, different kinds of food and stuff, popsicles and stuff to bring home and try out with us for the next 2 weeks. And one of the things, the reason why she was using the ice chips is because the coldness is, it kind of like wakes up the senses, like extreme hot or extreme cold are going to like sharpen the senses a little bit. It's going to shock basically the senses. And so for somebody who has hyposensitivity, a dullness, the warm food isn't really stimulating their mouth. So the cold food, she recommended giving her like ice chips, popsicles, something like that before I actually feed her whatever meal it is that we're preparing for her. So that's something new that I learned that we're going to try. We're going to see how that works, and if that increases the amount of food that she eats per sitting. And she does really like the ice chips. I think that she likes anything that really like stimulates her. We started her off with we got her an electric toothbrush, and she loves that thing. And I had told the occupational therapist about it, and she said it's because the vibration is it's a hyper stimulation for her. And so she needs things that are going to be really like working her senses. Basically, it has to awaken her senses. So anyways, that was our occupational therapy appointment. Our appointment with the speech therapist was supposed to be next Friday, but when I got there this morning, I asked them if they had any cancellations, and they did. They happened to have one at 11 o'clock. So I just had to wait around for about an hour, and then I was able to see the speech therapist. And so the reason for the speech therapist, it's mechanical evaluation of how the swallow works, and how the tongue and like the physical part of eating and swallowing and all of that stuff, how that works. And so our occupational therapist wanted our speech therapist to evaluate Kaidynce regarding the aspiration, just to make sure and to kind of rule out any kind of physical weaknesses or like low muscle tone, a delayed swallow, anything like that, because she could see it. She would be able to see it like from studying her and like from the side, just watching how it goes, how she drinks, how she eats, how she moves her tongue, all of that kind of stuff. So it's not really the feeding side of it. She doesn't know techniques or anything like that to help Kaidynce with her like feeds, increasing the feeds or anything, but she does know the way that the mouth and the mechanics of it is supposed to work, so she can tell us if, yes, it is a physical thing. Kaidynce's tongue is weak, the muscles are weak, and we have to strengthen them, and so, you know, these are the exercises to do that. She's able to tell those kind of things. And so today we gave her water, we gave her like a sippy cup, we gave her water from a regular cup, and then we gave her water from a spoon. And all of those things, she did pretty good. What she did notice is that Kaidynce is pocketing or piecemealing. That's what she called it. She's piecemealing her intake. And so when she's swallowing, when she goes from a spoon, if she swallows from a spoon, it's a small quantity and she's able to control the swallow. When she drinks from a cup, if she's getting too much intake, she'll swallow a little bit, and that swallow is good. That's a good thing too, by the way. The swallow is good. There's nothing wrong with her swallow from what we can tell. But she's holding the water in. So she's not swallowing it all at once the way that a regular or a normal, swallow should be done, and the way that we swallow our water. She's taking a little bit, holding it, and then she'll hold it, and she'll hold it. And that's what's making her choke. Because then when she's ready to swallow, she's been holding it for so long, she kind of like loses control or coordination. And then something is happening in the back where it's making her choke on the water. And so that's where she is puzzled again. So this whole cleft thing is just a big, it's just a big puzzle. Everybody's case is different. It's been a year since Kaidynce has had the surgeries, and now all of a sudden she's starting to have these issues. And I've heard of other families who have gone through what we're going through too, where their kid will be fine and then all of a sudden they kind of develop certain things. And so it's just all part of this whole laryngeal cleft thing. There's not enough cases, known cases, about it to be able to pinpoint or to be able to really diagnose, okay, this is what it is and this is how we take care of it. Since the beginning, everything is puzzling for her case. So basically what we took away from today's speech therapy is that they don't think that it's anything physical. So they don't want to do a swallow study, and they definitely don't want to do another scope where she goes under or anything. They said that that is not necessary at this point. So she is taking the information back to her team of pediatric feeding specialists. They have a whole council. So she's going to talk to them and then have a better answer for me on Monday, because she needs to do some research into it, she said, to figure out why she might be pocketing the water. And she feels like the main reason why she's aspirating is because she is pocketing the water, and she doesn't know if it's a behavioral thing that she learned along the way from the trauma that she had, having to go through back to back repair surgeries on her throat. And so she's just very overprotective. And so her way, her defense mechanism that Kaidynce developed was basically just piecemealing her food, just kind of testing the waters, because she is very protective of her airway. She is very protective of her mouth. That's why sometimes I can do the exercises and sometimes I can't. It just depends on her mood that day. I have to just go with whatever she's feeling, whatever signs that I get from her. So I still have no answers, but at least they did kind of rule out the fact that it would be the cleft. So I know that it's not the cleft that's going on. I know that it's something either behavioral, which is psychological, and it's something that we can learn and learn to overcome with more therapy and stuff like that. Or it's something, I don't know. I know as much as they know. So, but yeah, it sounds like they're leaning more towards a behavioral or a psychological thing, because from what she's telling me, everything physical about her swallow is fine, is normal. Her tongue movement is strong. Everything seems okay. So we'll see what they tell me on Monday. But I was glad that we were able to get in today. That way I don't have to drive to Hollywood next week. We get answers, as much of an answer as we can, or at least a ruling out of something. You know I can like rest assured knowing that we're not going to have to do another swallow study or have her go under again for another scope of her throat and stuff. So at least I get to rule that out, and I can sleep easy until I hear what's kind of going on. But other than that, I think everything is going okay. It's slow and steady, of course. And like I said, everybody's case is going to be different. Everybody's child is different. Everybody copes differently. And so I guess this is just the way that Kaidynce is coping with the trauma that she experienced. So everything went well. And that's it for the updates. That's all the information I have for now. But hopefully Monday I'll hear some more, and then I'll update you guys on the next month's update. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next update. Bye. Wish us luck. Wish us luck.